Welcome to Television Sydney News. I'm Bianca Martins. It's great to have you with us. In this week's bulletin, bravery awards for two Macarthur men who rescued a driver from a burning truck, publicans and MPs concerned about alcohol-fuelled violence in the hills, and the circus rolls into town at Castle Hill. But first, Sydney residents have been inundated with campaigning candidates in the lead up to Saturday's local government elections. The Campbelltown area is believed to be one of the most contested council battlegrounds, and current Mayor Anulak Chanthibong says it is because there is a lot at stake. Western Sydney has seen a spike in the number of Greens candidates this time around. Fairfield Council will have 12 Greens candidates running in its 3 wards, while Liverpool will run a full ticket with 10 Greens candidates for the first time.
I think it's reflecting the growth in numbers of supporters that we're getting out here in Western Sydney, and particularly southwestern Sydney. We're a progressive party. We're a bit distinct from the other two parties, which are moving very much to the right. The Liberal Party has moved very, very right, and the Labor Party has taken a big jump with them. And we're seen as being an alternative, a valid alternative. As a party, we're very young, and out here, probably not as well known as we have been in our traditional heartland, which has been in the inner city. But we do a lot of work with people on local issues, and I think that's getting through. People are starting to see that we are actually somebody who can help them and represent things that are a little bit different.
It will also be the first time the Greens contest the ballot for mayor in both councils. Mayoral candidate Bill Cashman says he appreciates the magnitude of the task.
We've decided to run as mayoral candidates because we think our profile is quite high now, much higher than it has been in the past. And we think that the mayor's position is a position that should actually be the centrepiece, where everybody comes together, so that there's cohesion in the councils. And we've seen a lot of, particularly in Liverpool, a lot of adversarial infighting in the councils between various parties. Not so much out here in Fairfield, it's better controlled. But certainly the mayor has got to be that point where everybody comes together and works for everybody else. So we think we can be a little bit more objective in that area.
If elected, Mr Cashman says there are numerous issues he will tackle across Fairfield.
The main areas that we're looking at as a platform for us in both Fairfield and Liverpool is the livability of the area. That's the number one. We want people to be able to work and live and play and experience their life within our own areas without having to travel outside. So we want to get more employment opportunities here. That'll solve a lot of problems with kids who don't have employment. Our youth unemployment is tragic. We want the area to be much more livable in the sense that we want it to be the streetscapes to be looking good, and we want of course we want the footpaths to be good, and we want the rubbish cleaned up off the streets, the traditional stuff that you see from everybody. But hopefully we can work with the others to make sure that that actually happens. We also need to make sure that council is leading the way when it comes to the use of energy. We're living in an environment where our economy is changing to a low carbon economy, and council buildings are a great opportunity for solar panels and for self-sufficiency.
More than 1,000 people walked through the doors of Fairfield Council in just 2 days as part of the council's pre-polling. Voters said their decision on who to vote for was influenced by the party's policies and values.
I do know Fred Niall personally, so I've spent some time with Fred there in Parliament, and I believe they hold some very good values, family values, and some great principles for the family. So I stand for that, and as a minister we like to help people in the community here in the Fairfield community, so that's why I stand behind those type of values.
I voted for Labor because I believe in their value.
The Blue Mountains is set to see a changing of the guard, with only 4 of its 12 current councillors standing for re-election. Concern over the lack of female representation has been expressed in the lead up to the election, as only one woman, Labor's Romola Hollywood, is in a winnable position across the 4 wards. The controversial Australia First Party will also field candidates for Blue Mountain City Council, as well as other Western Sydney local government areas including Hawkesbury, Blacktown, Penrith and Wollondilly. 2 Macarthur men have received bravery awards after rescuing a trapped driver from a burning truck. Jason Tippett and Brad Tuckwell were driving home from work along Picton Road at Cataract when they saw an overturned truck on fire. The pair jumped at concrete barrier, smashed the windscreen and pulled the dazed driver free. Mr Tuckwell says it was only when telling the story to his family later that he realised the enormity of what they had done. This week, the pair received a commendation for brave conduct from Governor-General Quinton Bryce for their heroic actions. Hills publicans and MPs concerned with underage drinking and alcohol-fuelled violence say an attitude shift in the community is necessary. They say the responsible consumption of alcohol rather than merely the responsible service of alcohol should be encouraged. Baulkham Hills MP David Elliott says young people need to start taking responsibility for their actions.
I think our mentality to underage drinking does need to change because there's perception out there that it is the responsible service of alcohol, where indeed it really should be focusing on the responsible consumption of alcohol. People are just accepting the fact that young people can drink alcohol as a norm. They think that it's something that we can't stop, we can't desist, so let's just accept the fact that it's happening.
Mr Elliott says primary responsibility and consequences of drinking irresponsibly should be with the individual.
Well, publicans and licensees do have responsibility for the service of alcohol because they're the point of sale. But I've never known anybody be dragged into a pub and had alcohol forced down their throat. So at the end of the day, the responsibility for drinking has to be with the individual.
A parliamentary inquiry initiated in May is examining the laws surrounding the supply of alcohol to minors in the home. Castle Hill MP Dominic Perrottet says the government isn't targeting parents who have a mature approach to alcohol in their homes.
Look, I don't have any issue with parents providing alcohol to their own children in the safety of their own home. However, the issues I believe arise when parents are providing alcohol to children who aren't theirs, friends of their children, and that's where I think government need to take a role to ensure that this behaviour is stamped out.
Both MPs say they support introducing legislation that imposes a fine or penalty on parents who supply alcohol to their underage child and then turn a blind eye. They also support imposing a restriction delaying young people involved in alcohol-driven violence or public intoxication from getting their driver's licence.
I think young people need to take a lot more responsibility for their personal behaviour, and I think campaigns such as the one that the Herald is running at the moment ensures that young people take a greater note of the prospects of being involved in either a dangerous situation or causing a dangerous situation when out drinking. I think young people need to be aware and take much greater responsibility for their actions, particularly when they're drinking.
Campbelltown Council is encouraging residents to share their concerns about the approval of a coal seam gas well at Menangle Park. AGL Energy is drilling close to homes and next to the Nepean River, despite the council's strong objections about pollution of the waterway and lack of public consultation. Stop CSG Sydney Water Catchment spokesman Will Darcy says the new well would become an environmental disaster because it is in a floodplain. AGL has an application before the government for 72 coal seam gas wells in the Macarthur region. Developments worth more than $550 million have been approved in the Sutherland Shire. The $320 million Sharks development and $238 million Kirrawee Brick Pit development include 1,000 units, shopping centres, restaurants, office space and parklands. Sharks chairman Damien Irvin believes the development will give the club a revitalised role in the community. Sutherland Shire Mayor Carol Provan says she's disappointed by the decision which was made by the state government's Planning Assessment Commission. She says the concerns of the community were not taken into account. Construction of the Walleye Creek Woolworths site has hit another snag with the discovery of the old Tempe Hotel foundations. Already battling a wind-up application in the Supreme Court, builders Nahas Construction have had to cease work while the historical significance of the footings is assessed. St George Historical Society President Bernie Shara says the hotel, built in the 1870s, played a significant role in the history of local government in St George. A heritage consultant has recommended the artefacts be reburied.